joined the National Guard in 1996 when I was 17 and still in high school getting ready to graduate. I joined as a medic, but ended up being attached to a military police company. So I was a medic for the military police. In 1999, the unit got called up to do a peacekeeping mission in Hungary and Croatia in support of the mission in Bosnia. So at that time, before that happened, they had cross-trained myself and some of the other medics as military police under what we were told at the time, so that we would understand what the military police, what their job was, and so we'd be better able to go out on missions with them as medics to help, know how to integrate with them. And then once we did the training, they ended up switching us to military police and sending us over on the deployment as military police. So I did a 7-month deployment in Hungary and Croatia as an MP, and then came back in 2000 and went to a medical unit. In the beginning, in January of 2003, I got a phone call that I had been involuntarily transferred back to the military police and that they were getting deployed and that I had to show up the next day for formation, and that I was basically on active duty from that point.
On my orders, coalition forces have begun striking selected targets of military importance to undermine Saddam Hussein's ability to wage war.
So then when I got home, I hadn't been supportive of the war in Iraq in the first place, but had never been involved in activism or anything, and didn't really, it was just something foreign to me. I wouldn't have thought to be politically active because I didn't know anyone who was. But then when I got back, because my experience really influenced and transformed me and made me want to do something, and wanted to use that experience to, I didn't really know what I was gonna do, but then ended up meeting some other vets at the Veterans for Peace Convention, and that's when we formed Iraq Veterans Against the War. So we've done a lot of different things, from marching and lobbying Congress and speaking out publicly, doing counter-recruitment in schools, doing the campaign for soldiers' right to heal, just doing a bunch of things. We did a Winter Soldier, which was, we basically had over 100 veterans and then also Iraqis and military families and different experts talking about the realities of war and the realities of occupation, and that was in 2008, before the election. We testified in front of Congress. We called Winter Soldier on the Hill. So we've done a lot of things. I guess for some people, they could point to a specific event that happened to them and say it was that was a defining experience. But I think for a lot of people, including myself, it wasn't so much one experience. It's just the accumulation of things day after day, and seeing what it means. For instance, for us, we're told that Iraq was a threat, that unless we invaded them first, they were gonna cause this big threat to us.
Today is to provide you with additional information, to share with you what the United States knows about Iraq's weapons of mass destruction, as well as Iraq's involvement in terrorism.
I never believed that, but at the same time, it was, a lot of people believed that, and it was also framed as, we're liberating people from this dictator, we're coming in and we're giving them freedom. And so I guess from my perspective at the time, one, I kept thinking that we weren't going to actually invade Iraq without the UN and without evidence, which I guess was totally naive, but I kept thinking it naive because I had been reading about it, and I knew that all the justification people had debunked it all, before the invasion even happened. But so I kept thinking, well, all this evidence is bullshit, and the UN's not behind it, and we're not really gonna go, are we? Even in Kuwait, by that time, I was like, maybe it's not gonna happen. But then it happened, and I thought, well, maybe I'll be surprised. Maybe we'll go over there and actually we'll be able to have a positive impact. Maybe it's going to turn out better and not just be a total disaster. And then through the time that I was there, where, supposedly there to help the Iraqi people, yet at the same time, there was just widespread like scorn for the Iraqi people, and we didn't like them, or like, you know, the way that people talked about them as just being so stupid and so violent and so less human than us, basically. People that I served with a lot of times would just fall into that it didn't take much, really, that if you put someone in a really stressful, violent situation and kind of give them all this power, how quickly sometimes people take advantage of that and abuse other people. I think it's just, and that it's not particular to that situation. So I guess part of it is that I do feel hesitant to really criticize people too much for it, because I think it's an inevitable part of a military occupation and war that happens. And so I rather would criticize, put the real blame on people who make war and who pretend like when something bad happens, like at Abu Ghraib or the Haditha massacre, or the GI killing all those people in Afghanistan recently, that it's like a case of the bad apple, when really it's just an example of what happens when you put this system into place in the first place. You like put people in a situation where you kind of encourage or allow that kind of behavior to happen. So it's more of a systemic problem in the military, and the government always wants to pretend like it's just individual. But when you're actually in an experience like that, you see how like little indignities and little dehumanizations just add up and compound on one another. Then when you're in this situation that's so stressful and you're away from your home and you wish you weren't there and you want to go back and you're in physical danger every day and you don't know who the enemy is or who you can trust, you just end up projecting that fear and uncertainty and anger on everyone you see, because that's your own survival mechanism. Is like, well, I don't know if this person maybe like is going to plant a roadside bomb, or if they're going to like have an AK-47 in their car that they're going to shoot me with. I don't know, and I'd rather, you know, err on the side of, you know, targeting them rather than become the target myself. So that's, I guess that was part of the experience for me. And then also seeing like the bigger results on the Iraqi people of the occupation than just the danger that they face directly from the soldiers, like from the bullets and bombs. Like, yeah, that was horrible, and that was a big part of it. But then there's just like the day-to-day grinding down of society, of your basic dignity and rights to, you know, as a person, as an Iraqi driving down the road and being able to be pulled over at any time by the U.S. military, forced to get out of your car, forced to, you know, be detained for no reason or for any reason at all, and be thrown into a prison and disappear, to be shot at a checkpoint, to have your car run over or have damage done to your house, just like those things compounding. And also just the kind of the impact of having so many soldiers and so many foreign contractors in your country on a day-to-day